We're only just beginning our struggle. I want to start by acknowledging land that was never ceded. I'm standing on stolen ground, land that was fought for, genocide and massacre that was never acknowledged, still to be dealt with in this country. And I pay my respects to the First Nations people and to the elders past and present. So there's a war going on, in case you didn't notice. For a while it seemed like it was far away in places like Greece and the UK and America. And then Tony Abbott handed down a budget and it came pretty much close to home. And it's going to get a lot worse. Tony Abbott has laid the blueprint in this budget to feather the nests of his mates, corporate mining bastards, billionaires, Monsanto, pharmaceutical companies. The people that will profit out of this budget, as we all know, are the rich, the powerful, and the corporations. They've set up a blueprint, a Trans-Pacific Partnership to come into play, and then we're really screwed. Everything that we're fighting for, whether it's for genetic modification labelling, whether it's to stop the coal boats, whether it's to protect our civil liberties and our rights, none of this will matter once the Trans-Pacific Partnership comes in. It's called the TPP. It is NAFTA on steroids. It is going to be more powerful than the World Trade Organization, and Monsanto is smack bang in the middle of 600 corporate insiders writing the document in secret behind closed doors. So what we need to do is realise that once this comes in, corporations under the Foreign Investment Dispute Resolution process will be able to sue our government if we introduce legislation to stop GMO, if we introduce legislation to stop fracking, if we introduce legislation to give protesters more rights, e.g. secondary boycott, corporate targeting, divestment, etc. Instead, our government is making every signal, just as America and Washington wish, to make sure that they lock down the capacity for those who wish to dissent, and to make sure the floodgates are open for corporations to treat this country like a giant chemical experiment and a quarry. So we're going to have a fight on our hands once that comes in. Now, Monsanto is part of that war. They're not the only ones, but they're a pretty big player. And that war is very, very clear, a war about the corporate state against the community. We're seeing it everywhere. Make no mistake, this is a war. Is that a violent word? Do people find that offensive? Maybe, but we are at war. And it's about the future direction of this country and the globe. And our brothers and sisters are fighting just as hard as we are across the globe to hold back this tyranny, this corporate tyranny that is intent on taking over 12 partnering nations around the Asia-Pacific's capacity to legislate in the people's name. Understand what that means. It means it doesn't matter if you get GMM labels, because they will just sue the government to override that legislation. It doesn't matter if you don't want your water poisoned with fracking chemicals, they will just sue the government. This is huge. And you know what they do? They create all these spot fires, so you can only think about what's in front of you. Save my backyard, save my school, save my local shared garden. And in the meantime, they're behind the scenes, in secret, negotiating something that will take away all of your rights. All of your rights. And once they've done that, they will pull every other country that they can into it to form a massive bloc against their old mates, China and Russia, you know, who they pretend to be fighting with. But let's face it, they're all part of the same elite corporate circle. There's a war going on right now on the internet. In America, they just knocked down net neutrality. Sounds like a geeky term, hard to understand. What does it mean? It means if you're a rich corporation like Monsanto, you get a tube of internet speed this big, so you can access every single bit of data that you want on the internet. But if you're an unemployed student starving in the suburbs of Melbourne, you'll get this much access to information. So you won't even be able to find the information that tells you about Roundup and the way every damn council in this city uses it in the residential streets out in front of your house where your baby is inside. Okay? So understand that the war that's going on is on every level. It's interconnected. It's discriminatory, it's racist, it's elitist, and it's going to take over not only our food, our civil liberties, and our land. And the first people affected by that are, of course, the poorest and the Indigenous. The next people affected by that are those that can't access information, as is their human right. So pretty soon, when they try and introduce net neutrality here, understand what that means is that eventually you won't be able to share information about Monsanto. When they introduce the TPP, and your uncle who owns a farm down in Gippsland wants to stop them fracking, understand they will sue the government and make us pay billions in compensation to that already profitable organisation that takes their money offshore. So there is a war. It's about our food, it's about our water, and it's about our rights. And this is really a massive endgame by Western liberal democracies to put in place a neoliberal agenda harking back to Thatcher and Reagan that says the individual is more important than the community. And everyone here today knows that that's not true. It hasn't worked well for us over the years, you know? So the question is not whether you know that information, the question is what do you do with that? The question is what do we all do with that? What I see happening is that we are building a global, civil, environmental rights movement that the world has never seen before. Seriously. There's not that many of us here today. Make yourselves heard or we're going to lose that. We have a month to block this budget because this budget is going to enable the corporations that are writing this secret, filthy text to take over our sovereignty and our legislation. And if that's not bad enough, let's also remember Monsanto's gift to the world was Ancient Orange. These guys are not beyond warmongering and chemical warfare. So it's not just about what goes on your plate, it's what their chemicals are used for. Now they divided Ancient Orange into several chemicals, and up until only 10 years ago they were still spraying Victorian farms with part of that chemical. And if you look at those regions, the birth defects, the miscarriages, the problems that mothers are having with their breast milk, there are repercussions that have gone through a whole generation because our government is either too stupid, too lazy, or too greedy to stand up to these massive corporations. So the battle that we face in this decade is enormous and it is interconnected. The mining companies, the military-industrial complex and their corporate mates all share profits. They all support each other. They are not interested in what happens in 2050. They don't care if climate change displaces people across the Pacific Rim. They will own the Pacific Rim and those sovereign nations through the TPP. So why should they care if generations of matriarchal culture are displaced because their islands are underwater? Why should they care if your children or my children suffer chronic asthma from being exposed to Roundup or kidney failure? Why should they care if a farmer in WA has an entire life's work of organic farming ruined because the state government and Monsanto decided to trial GM right next to his property? Now him and one of his oldest mates are at war with each other because of the cross-contamination of his fields. They don't care. Corporations don't care. They have been indoctrinated and inculcated to believe that money and infinite growth is the solution. And it is no longer the solution. If we continue down this path, we are going to destroy not only our own communities, but the entire planet. So what I want to say to you is every time you come to a Monsanto rally or a budget rally or a Medicare rally, every time you get up like I did this morning and think, oh my God, what am I going to say today? Can I get to that rally? Just remember that there has not been a mass movement in this country or on this planet since the 60s. And the people that came out of that movement moved into positions of powers and screwed us all over. Yeah? So we need to build carefully, we need to build consistently, and even when we're tired, we need to come out and stop being afraid of confronting those in power. Stop being afraid. I am more scared about my grandchildren having no food to eat that is not mutated and having nowhere to live because half of Victoria is a dust bowl and we can't grow food here. We need to understand our issues are interconnected. It's not enough for you to come to a Monsanto rally any more than it is enough for students to go to a student rally. If we want to build strong movement and take back our democracy, because remember, it is our power that we've given away to industrial agriculture, industrial mining, industrial education. They are turning us into battery hens, is what they are doing. And we need to support each other and understand those interconnections so that we can build a global movement that pushes back these neoliberal governments. And I'm talking about both sides of politics, by the way. The Labor Party got us into the TPP to begin with. Let's not let them off the hook. Let's not pretend that Abbott is the only bad guy. Granted, he's pretty offensive. But he's not the one who got us into the TPP. He's not the one that began the atrocious, heartless politics around refugees. He is not the one that decided that it was okay for miners to start fracking in this country. It's been going on a long time. People are giving up their lives, their educations to go on blockade, to risk arrest. And the question is, what's your line in the sand? When will you stand up? When will you keep coming back out? When will you decide it's more important that you come and stand with the people than go and have a coffee or a glass of wine somewhere? It has to be your life because it is our future. It has to be your life. You can start this week. 2 things you can do. Stop buying Monsanto products. Go to Friends of the Earth's food co-op. Go to another food co-op. Go to Ceres. Start buying from people that give a shit about the planet. Number 2, you can go to your local council where you can call them or email them this week and say, stop spraying Roundup through our suburbs. It is disgusting. It is poison. They are poisoning our children and our waterways. Not to mention the poor guys out there with no masks on spraying it around all day. I mean, for God's sake. That's number 2. Number 3, contact your federal MP or Andrew Robb, specifically the Trade Minister, and tell him we don't want Australia to sign on to the TPP unless they release it to the public. Release it. If there's nothing to hide, release it. Let us see what's in it. Let us as a community decide if this policy, this agreement is in our interest. And number 4, support every protest that you can to build movement. Join a local group. I don't care if you're an anarchist, a socialist, a Liberal Party member. Join a freaking group. Get active. Get involved. You don't have to be out on the streets all the time. You can be on social media. You can write letters. You can talk to your community. Be active. Make activism to change our world part of your everyday life. Every single day. Do one thing. One thing. Then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance of turning this around. And if we do nothing, the corporations are not only going to destroy our food, they're going to destroy this planet. Thanks for coming.